Get to this issue. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, no big surprise, going after Wall Street again. Listen to this.
In fact, we now live in an America where Wall Street is sucking value out of the rest of the economy. And we got to put a stop to that, and I have a plan for that. So today, I did another part of the plan. And this one is on private equity.
Well, there you go. Let's bring in Matt Mackowiak, Potomac Strategy Group President. Matt, here we go again. Elizabeth Warren basically saying that Wall Street is a giant vampire that, you know, takes everything and leaves everything in its wake, dried up and shriveled. What's your response to Elizabeth Warren? What would you say to her to counteract her argument?
Well, I mean, you need private equity because private equity injects capital into businesses, allowing it to expand or allowing it to become more efficient. I think they invest something like $400 billion every single year in tens of thousands of businesses. Certainly there are examples of private equity firms that have done damage to companies here or there or have loaded them up with debt. But in the vast majority of cases, they provide value and help the economy expand and grow jobs. So she is using Wall Street sort of as an example, you know, in the class warfare that she's used as her message, really for much of the last decade. Remember, she was Obama's first head of the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which Trump has really hollowed out. And she continues to use these issues to try to earn some of Bernie Sanders' support as his poll numbers go down and hers go up.
Let me bring in John on this. John, I mean, look, is Wall Street the evil empire that Elizabeth Warren makes it out to be?
I've worked on Wall Street for 20 years, so a little bit biased. But I think what we're having in this country is we have this massive wealth gap, right? The top 10% versus the bottom 90%. That gap has widened tremendously over the last 10 years. I think that's because we've kept interest rates way too low. So it's fueled credit, it's fueled leverage. Right, it's created this boom in the stock market over the last 10 years, up 400%, right? It's fueled private equity, it's fueled the housing market. And, you know, the average American doesn't really benefit from, you know, the stock market or the private equity market. So I think, you know, she's trying to kind of narrow that gap, which I'm in favor of. But
you could argue that private equity money is used to help businesses essentially thrive, creating jobs, helping everyone in the community, not just the rich fat cats at the top, that we all should benefit in some form or fashion.
Sure, and I would agree with that. I think that's, you know, there's been so much dependent on like monetary policy throughout this cycle, but, you know, I think we need other ways to kind of boost the economy, because the economy has been sluggish over the last 10 years, despite the boom in private equity, despite the boom in the stock market.
But record unemployment, 50-year low. Hiring more jobs open than people to fill them. I mean, that's a positive sign, though, right?
I would agree with that.
All right, John, let's stay right there if you can. I want to have another question for Matt. President Trump disavowing those send her back chants at his rally in North Carolina. The send her back chant referred to the squad. This is a story that goes on and on and on. Matt, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's kind of silly that we've wasted 3 or 4 days in the national conversation with Trump's tweet and accusations of him being racist. The House took 2 days of floor time and dedicated them to condemning him in a resolution and then voting on impeachment, which got 95 votes. I didn't know you could impeach someone over a tweet. Doesn't seem to meet the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. That said, I'm pleased the president disavowed the send her back rhetoric yesterday. I wish he'd done it in real time at the rally. It's one thing to target these 4 far left members of Congress for their ideas, their rhetoric, their anti-Semitism, etc. It's another to target them and say they need to go back to some country that they haven't lived in or maybe never did. 3 of the 4 were born in America. The 4th is a naturalized citizen. Now, there are serious questions about Congresswoman Omar perhaps being guilty of immigration fraud. And I hope that gets investigated. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune has done several reports on that. So I'm pleased the president chose to disavow the comments, and I think we need to be more careful at these rallies.
All right, very good. I want to bring John back in to get back to market issues.